What's up, guys? My name is Grimfyre, and I wanted to make a Diablo 4 video showing off my build for the Druid. I am going to be playing a Storm Druid. However, it is not the same as most Storm Druids that you see. It does not utilize Werewolf, and I didn't really follow a guide for this one. I kind of made it myself and thought it came out really good. So I'll go step by step showing you all of the abilities and skills taken, and I'll briefly go over Paragon, although I'm not that far into the game yet to really go over all the Paragon nuances, and I'm still missing one legendary power that I'm looking for, but I will go over all the legendary powers in this video. Alright, we'll start talking about the skill tree and what skills I picked. I won't go into like which order to pick them in as you're leveling, because this is more of an endgame guide where I kind of redid all my skill trees anyways. So first, in the basic skills, I went with Storm Strike. Storm Strike just adds the lightning damage that we'll need. You'll see with the legendaries later. But it also hits multiple targets, which makes it better than most of the other abilities. Most people will pick Wind Shear, because there is the chance to like reset your spirit with Wind Shear, I think with a legendary power. But I prefer Storm Strike, and I'm usually in the front line in the middle of all the mobs anyways. And then you pick Enhanced Storm Strike, which has 15% chance to immobilize all enemies hit for 2.8 seconds. Obviously, that's good. It can stop enemies from getting anywhere closer to you after with the Storm Strike bounces. And then the final one I pick is Storm Strike has a 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable. This build heavily relies on vulnerability. So we won't pick the Storm Strike chain to 2 additional targets. Instead, we'll do the vulnerability. So I put 5 points into Storm Strike to max out the damage, and then 1 into each of the bonuses on it. And then moving down to the core skills, this is a Tornado Storm Druid build. So of course, we're going to go complete 5 tornadoes, 5 ranks in the Tornado, and then the backups are going to be Enhanced Tornado, which allows you to have a 20% chance to spawn an additional tornado. Obviously, you have to pick that anyways. And then Raging Tornado makes it so tornadoes have 10% chance to make targets vulnerable for 3 seconds. Again, playing out the vulnerability factor. Whereas Primal Tornado is not bad. It can be at a slow effect, which is more crowd control anyways. But Hurricane, which you'll see in a few seconds, will be what we use for some slowing and whatnot. But yeah, after the tornadoes, we would put 1 point into Heart of the Wild, mainly just to get us to Wild Impulses, which makes it so our core skills cost 9% more spirit, but do 15% increased damage. With tornadoes, this is great because they're constantly whirling around. They stay on the field for a decent amount of time, so that damage continues to multiply. Moving down to the defensive skills, the defensive skill that I prefer is Earthen Bulwark. Now, it says I've got 5 ranks here. 4 of them come from 1 item. I only put 1 point into Earthen Bulwark because it's all you really need. It gives you the barrier. It makes you unstoppable due to the bonuses here, which is Enhanced Earthen Bulwark, as well as Preserving Earthen Bulwark, which gives you 18% base life as Fortify as well, giving you more Fortify and allows you to take more damage. A lot of people will pick Blood Howl for the heal. I'm testing that out with a second Druid build, which I will make a video about later. Or Cyclone Armor would also be a decent alternative, but Bulwark, for me, it works with my legendaries, makes me unstoppable, and allows me to get through mobs based on the legendary powers that I pick later. So that's what we went with here. Moving down, companions, I did add wolves as a companion. I only put 1 point into the wolves. 3 are coming from the item, which is pretty decent. But basically, I put the points in the wolves because they do 20% increased damage on slowed, stunned, or poisoned, or immobilized enemies, which you'll see later. We do have some immobilization from our basic attack, and we do have slows from Hurricane later. And then their bonus is they have a chance to give me Fortify. So that's the primary reason I have wolves. There is another reason, and it's based on the unique leggings I want to get. And I'll talk about that in a second. I really don't know if I would find any reason to swap out wolves for anything else in the meantime. But for now, that's what we went with. Moving down to the Wrath skills, I went with Hurricane. Hurricane to me is one of my best damage dealing abilities. Mainly because one of the legendaries we pick, or well, we have an aspect imprinted right now, but it deals additional hurricane damage every second Hurricane is up. Hurricane also makes enemies vulnerable, and Hurricane right here can also slow enemies based on these bonus points. And Enhanced Hurricane, enemies who are damaged by Hurricane are slowed by 25%. That's where the slow came in. I misspoke earlier. It's not a legendary, it's actually just a skill. And then Natural Hurricane, 15% chance to make enemies vulnerable again, so again, increasing damage done to those targets. Also in the Wrath skill section, we picked Elemental Exposure, which makes it so Storm skills have another 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable, again, playing off vulnerability. Endless Tempest increases the duration of Hurricane and Cataclysm. We do use an ultimate skill in this tree, or in this build, because I love Cataclysm. I don't think a lot of people actually use Cataclysm. For me personally, it is crucial. I mean, yeah, it's got a long cooldown, but when you get it off, it destroys everything in the vicinity. And then we pick Bad Omen, which is a 30% chance when dealing damage to vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned enemies, Lightning Bolt will hit that enemy, dealing 55% of your overall damage. And that I just find that cool, and that plays into the lightning theme that we'll be building off of later. Moving from Wrath skills, we go to the ultimate skill. And again, I said I picked Cataclysm. You only put one rank into it. I did. The cooldown is 46 seconds, quite long, but it has a 75% lucky hit chance. And then basically tornadoes will knock enemies back, and then lightning strikes will hit random enemies wildly, doing 52% of your damage overall. The modifier I put on this is, first of all, Prime Cataclysm. It reduced the duration by 2 seconds because it started at, I think, 48.5. And then lightning strikes from Cataclysm make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. So again, more vulnerability. Also, in the ultimate skill tree, though, we did pick Defiance, which all of our nature magic skills do 12% increased damage to elites. Everything in here outside of our defensive and our wolves is magic or nature magic. And then Circle of Life, again, nature magic skills that consume spirit heal you for 3% of your maximum life. So that means that tornadoes that are flying around all over the place, since they take spirit, will be healing us while they're dealing damage. So that does give us some survivability. Now, granted, this build does not have the greatest survivability yet. I need to get more defensive items, like for leggings and chests in the future, but it does what it needs. And we, as you can see down here, we have 12 charges of potions anyways to help us out, along with Bulwark. Then, building off of Circle of Life, we've got Resonance. Nature skill, or nature magic skills deal 6% increased damage. I primarily have this for that 6% bonus damage, because bonus damage is great. It does have triple that bonus if it's a storm skill casted after an earth skill. So when I do Earth and Bulwark, the next skill will do 18% increased damage, which if I can pick it correctly, it'll be Earth and Bulwark into a tornado or something of the like. Not the greatest, but at least the 6% is, you know, a constant. Also, in this ultimate skill, as our last 2 points that I didn't really have to spend anywhere else, I decided to put on defense, is basically increases how much fortify we gain from all sources, from our wolves, and from Earth and Bulwark, and so on. And then finally, at the bottom here, our key passive is still Perfect Storm, which is what I used while leveling as well as endgame. Storm skills that grant that you cast grant 1 spirit and deal 15% increased damage when damaging vulnerable, immobilized, or slowed enemies. So typically when I hit Cataclysm and I am attacking mobs, Cataclysm generates so much spirit that I can just spam tornadoes. I have played with the idea of doing, what was it? I think it was, I want to say it was Earth and Might, because there's a legendary that allows Earth and Might to work on, like, storm skills. I think it's something like that. I think it's something like that. I can't remember. But, yeah, so that's all of the actual skills. Now, let's get into the actual legendary powers, and I'll walk you through my thought process on those. Alright, so over to the legendary powers. What I went through every legendary and aspect that I could find to figure out what would work best with a build like this. And now, again, your builds may differ. You may disagree with some of the things that I've said here and some of my choices. Again, if you want the Wolf Storm build, which is probably the highest damaging and best build that Druid has outside of Pulverize, you're going to have to look elsewhere. I didn't want to go with that one because I don't like that playstyle. I prefer just spamming tornadoes and running around with Cataclysm. Anyways, let's get into it. For the Helm, I went for Exploiters. Now, this one builds off of our current crowd control. We do a lot of slowing. We do a lot of we can do some immobilizations. Basically, all of our slows have a 20% chance, or 20% increased crowd control duration. But when enemies are unstoppable, which is typically, I think, most elites and definitely bosses are unstoppable, you deal 44% up to 50% increased damage to them. So that makes it so we do a lot more damage to the stronger monsters that can't be slowed or whatnot. And any monsters that are already getting slowed get slowed for 20% more duration, which is a net positive on us, for us. So For the chest piece, I went with Earth Guard, which is a bonus to our Earthen Bulwark. Basically, you gain up to 25% bonus amount to your next Earthen Bulwark for each enemy you crowd control up to a maximum of 100%. So, as long as we crowd control, in this case, around 4 to 5 mobs, we're basically getting a 100% bonus to our Earthen Bulwark, our next Earthen Bulwark that we cast. So that is always up, especially if we're always doing Hurricane, which slows every mob around us, right? So that is great there. For the gloves, I've currently rocking Expectant. I'm not 100% sure if this is what I'm keeping, but so far it seems to be working. Basically, attacking enemies with basic skills increases the damage of your next core skill by up to 10% total, and it stacks up to 30%, so 3 times, if you get the max roll on this. So basically, if I swing with Storm Strike 3 times, then I rock off a tornado. The tornado that spins around will be doing 30% more damage the duration of that one tornado, because the damage increase is at the start and it will last for the tornado's duration. So that's my thought process on using Expectant on the gloves. Boots, I went with Ghostwalker. There wasn't a lot of options for boots that I could find. So I went with Ghostwalker because while you're unstoppable, and for 4 seconds after, you gain up to a 25% increased movement speed and can walk through enemies. So when I use Earthen Bulwark, which makes me unstoppable, my movement speed gets increased, and I can run through run through enemies, which makes clearing dungeons faster if I want to skip a bunch of mob packs. So that's why I went with Ghostwalker for boots. If there's a better boot one, let me know in the comments below, but I couldn't find one. There's one with like increases your speed on critical strikes, which might work, but yeah. So moving on from that, for this build, I did decide to go with a one-hander and an offhand because I want more legendary powers. I mean, that's plain and simple. I don't the weapon attack from a two-hander, and the bonus to the one legendary power you can put on it is not worth giving up 2 legendary powers for. So for the relic or the totem, I guess, I put Conduit on it, which gives you critical strikes with storm skills that you cast, charge the air around you, which can for 1 second right now, but can go up to 2 seconds, causing a lightning bolt to periodically hit enemies in the area for 2400 lightning damage. This duration can be extended by additional critical strikes. Now, I've had this extended for like the length of a dungeon run, to where as I'm running, random mobs are getting nearly one-shotted by lightning bolts, so I always found that good. And every skill we're casting, for the most part, are storm skills, so it plays off of that. Now, I'll get back to the weapon and leggings in a second, but let's get to rings. For rings, I have the Tempest, which right now is still just an aspect for 7%. I have not found a legendary with Tempest on it yet to get a higher roll. But for now, Hurricane damage is increased by 7% for each second while active. So Hurricane currently lasts 9 seconds. That means that by the end of that, it can be a bonus of 63% damage for the last tick of Hurricane. So the longer Hurricane lasts, the more damage it's doing to enemies around you. And right now, it already does an insane amount. So I thought that was a no-brainer, especially if I can get the roll of 15%. That's 15% times 9. That's a hell of a lot of damage. That's close to what? That's like 135% damage, something around there. Like, that's insane. And then for the other ring right now, I don't think this is what I'm going to be sticking with, but I am using Accelerating, which is critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by 20%. I'm playing around with this one right now because attack speed can be a big factor in this build, for building up the tornadoes, for doing a lot more lightning damage to overcharge the air and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's what I'm going with right now. I'll have to look at the notes in a few minutes to see what my actual thought process is on that, but that is where we're at. And for the necklace, it's a no-brainer. You need Storm Chasers. Tornadoes will seek up to 5 targets. That means that when you place a tornado on the ground, it will travel around chasing after 5 different targets. Therefore, you no longer have to worry about random tornadoes not hitting things. This is a key legendary power that you need for this build. Now, do you have to put it on the amulet? Maybe not. Maybe the basic one for 3 targets is fine. Or on weapon, it'll be 6 targets. But on the necklace, it's 5 targets, and I find that works really well for this build. All right, moving on to the leggings. Now, like I said earlier, I have not found these leggings in-game yet. I don't know if they're very rare. I found a lot of uniques, but we're looking for the Druids unique leggings called Storm's Companion. The ability on these leggings. Now, this is one of the reasons why I still use the wolf pack as like the wolf companions in general. This one says your wolf companions are infused with the power of the storm, dealing lightning damage and gaining the storm howl ability. Now, I gotta look up to see what the storm howl ability actually is, but the main reason I wanted it is because it makes the wolves do lightning damage, which helps our weapon enchant that I'm going to go over here in a second. That's basically based on lightning. Plus, these leggings also give rank to wolves, so we'll make our wolves slightly stronger. It also increases companion skill damage and companion movement speed. Now, I think these leggings will be a lot better for the companion build I'm going to be working on, but I do think that they fit with this build 100%. I just got to find out where we can find them, because I have done so many Tree of Whispers. I have done so many Obol turn-ins. I've only turned in Obols for leggings at this point. I just hit Torment, so I'm wondering if they're only limited to like Torment. I don't know why they would be, but I've found a lot of other uniques. I've never found these in my time of playing, but that's what I'll be looking for. You'll see a graphic here on the screen to show you the basic stats that you would get with these leggings. Right, so for the weapon, I went with what is, in my opinion, a really good one for a lightning build, and that is Overcharged. The current legendary power I have right now is up to 15% chance when dealing lightning damage to overload the target for 3 seconds, causing any direct damage you deal to them to pulse for 1600 damage, additional damage to surrounding enemies, which obviously scales with your damage. And you can get that up to a 20% chance lucky hit. If you were to put this on a two-handed weapon, you could get it to a 40% chance to hit, so I have played with that idea. If I didn't mind relegating my Conduit to one of the ring slots and getting rid of Accelerating, but for now, I thought having the more legendary powers would be better. So yes, and you can also put it in the amulet for a bump to, what, 30%. So, I mean, that would work out too. But this is why I want the Storm's Companions leggings, because it makes their damage be lightning. That means that anytime they're dealing lightning damage, for every hit that they do, there's a 20% chance that it will cause the target to explode with lightning damage, dealing damage to everyone around it. So that's one of the reasons why I am hunting those leggings and going with the lightning thing. Now, yes, would this work better? Probably using like Lightning Storm as a skill instead of Tornadoes? Possibly. And I might test that in the future, but I don't really care for having the channel Lightning Storm to do damage. I like my Tornado spamming. It makes me feel a lot... It feels a lot similar to Crusaders or Old Paladins with Hammered in, because you kind of just spam hammers. But yes, so that is the weapon, and we'll get into the final legendary for the other option for the ring, except outside of Accelerating. For the ring, I actually had two other options that I might play around with. One is the aspect of Stampede, which you can get as a legendary. I have a few of them already for my backup companion build. You gain one additional companion, and your companion skill deals an extra 10 to 20% bonus damage based on what you roll. Now, I'm only going to play with this one if I can find those unique leggings that make my companions do lightning damage, because then adding one additional companion might be better than my own attack speed, and it might allow the lightning AoE to proc a lot more often. Now, the other option, which is another one I'll be using for the companion build, is the aspect of the alpha, which will turn your wolf companions into werewolf companions, and the werewolf companions at max roll can deal up to 100% additional damage. They can also spread rabies. I don't think they spread rabies on their own without you having the ability rabies, so that's probably a moot point, but it'll allow the companions to do another 100% damage, which in general would do more damage in the end than adding an extra companion, because one extra companion gives you 3 wolves, only increases their damage by a theoretical 50%, whereas werewolf companions are 100% bonus damage. So I don't know which one I would go with if I picked one, and I don't think I could fit both into this current build unless I replace something else. But let me know what your thoughts are down below for these legendary aspects that I've talked about during this video, as well as the build in general. And we'll do a quick brief rundown on my thought process on Paragon points and skills, and I'll go over that really quickly. It won't be a lot. I do have 3 boards at least to show you, and I'll show you the couple of runes that I've been messing with right now. Real quick, before we get on the Paragons, I almost forgot. Druids do have spirit boons after you hit level 15. So let's go over those really quickly. Once you get all your boons unlocked, first of all, you want to partner with the Raven. I believe it's the Raven. I think that's what it's called. The bird. You have to partner with the bird, and we'll start with the stag first. On the stag, you want to pick wariness, which just makes you take reduced damage from the leech by 10%. I did not see anything else in here that really would help a whole lot with this build. Thorns don't really matter, and the extra 10 whole spirits not going to be a lot, and reducing the duration of crowd impairing effects is not that good because Earthen Bulwark gets you out of all that anyways. That was another point I wanted to make earlier, is that Earthen Bulwark gets you out of all stuns. You can cast it while stunned and everything. One of the reasons why I like that so much, because there are a lot of mobs that once they stun you, you are dead if you don't have Earthen Bulwark to cast. So, onto the Raven, you're going to want the 5% critical strike chance from Scythe Talons, because obviously you want more critical strike chance. That's one of the biggest stats for this build, outside of critical strike damage. And you're going to want, here we go, Avian Wraith, which is 30% increased critical strike damage. Attack speed could be useful, and the maximum life is not really a thing. I think that's more for maybe the pulverized build. But yeah, so those are the two you want for the Raven. Again, you're going to want to bond yourself to the Spirit Bond to the... Sorry, it's not a Raven, it is an Eagle. It does say down at the bottom. Okay. Next will be the Wolf Spirit. You're going to want Energize, which is dealing damage, has a 15% chance to restore 10 of Spirit. This is another reason why, when using Cataclysm, Tornadoes, or Hurricane, you'll get a lot of Tornadoes off because each of those hits has a chance to give you more Spirit. Anything else in this one? I don't believe. The Fortifying is not really worth it. The duration of the ultimate skill could be worth it for this build for Cataclysm. I haven't tested it yet. And the Pack Leader is only good for our actual companion build, which I'll probably play off of on our next build guide. After that, for the Snake, none of these were really that good leveling up, but you do have to, I mean, you might as well pick one because you can pick one, obviously. So the one that I found was Calm Before the Storm. Nature Magic skills have up to a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. That is actually good for this build because, unlike others, I run an ultimate skill, which is Cataclysm. So all Nature Magic skills have a 10% chance to reduce the ultimate by 2 seconds when you cast the other skills. So spamming Tornadoes, spamming, I'm assuming this works on basic attacks, I would assume. And whenever you cast Hurricane and whatnot, that all has a chance to make your ultimate come back faster, which is always a plus. All right, now we can get on to the actual Paragon board. Okay, so we start with the basic Paragon board, where you start at the bottom here. And I decided to go to the right path instead of going to the defensive path, which is where I'm kind of heading now, because I wanted to do more damage. So I went for willpower. You get to the 5% damage. I did miss this 2% life, which I might get again here soon. But for the rare node, you get Prime, which is 20% increased damage, mainly because I get 10% damage for having over 160 intelligence as well. Plus, you do get maximum life from that. We went up, got some maximum life, some more damage, some more basic stats here, building our way to the first glyph slot. So for the first glyph, I put in one called Human, because this build doesn't play off of Werewolf or shapeshifting in any way, shape, or form, except for when you dismount, you do turn to Werebear for a split second. But this one increases your damage while in human form. So everything that I'm doing in human form just does more damage. It seems like a no-brainer to me. As long as you have 40 willpower in the radius, you also get 10% damage reduction while in human form. So again, no-brainer. Right now, this glyph is offering me almost a 30% increased damage to everything I do while in human form. So that, I just thought, if you can think of another better glyph, let me know in the comments below, because that was where my eyes went immediately as I got to that glyph slot. So playing off of just trying to make the build do damage, because Druids are notorious for doing little damage, I went left instead of to the right, which is resistances to all elements and whatnot, to get the rare node Impel, which again does more damage and damage in human form. So yeah, it does 6.9% increased damage while in human form, 10 willpower, and 20% damage based on the fact that we have 170 intelligence. I went up from there and opened up our first board. Now with the first board, I didn't realize you could rotate it when I first put it in, so I just put it in as it was shown. You might want to rotate it based on if you want to get to the glyph slot sooner than I did, but I'm happy with how I did it because I went immediately to the left to get this Tempest rare node, which I still don't have the dexterity for the bonus critical strike damage, but out of the gate, it does 15% critical strike damage and 10% increased vulnerable damage, which is obviously we built on vulnerability. So that is a plus. I do have to work on these side ones here for more critical strike damage that I gave up to get farther in the board, but I'll come back and get those. And then we went up, got some more critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, and went to the legendary node, Thunderstruck. The reason I grabbed this board, storm skills deal 30% increased critical strike damage against vulnerable or immobilized enemies. Again, that's a net positive. As long as we can get our critical strike chance up, we'll constantly be doing a lot of damage on most of the enemies we're fighting. We went up from there, following all these other nodes for basic stats. Heading on over to the right here slightly, I gave up on another resistance or defensive node for more power, and we went to Deluge, which gives us 15% more critical strike damage, 15% damage to crowd-controlled enemies, and if I can get the intelligence to 260, we'll get yet another 15% critical strike damage in the end from that. Again, there are a few here next to it that could be nice bonuses for critical strike damage. But again, I was working my way to the next glyph slot as well as some of the other nodes. So we went up and we went to the right, adding this glyph socket, which is Fulminate. Again, I've been playing with some glyphs. These are the Human and Fulminate are the two I've kind of gravitated towards so far, because this one just straight up increases lightning damage. Yeah, tornadoes don't do lightning damage, but just about everything else in the kit, I think it's tornadoes and hurricanes don't. But our Cataclysm, our basic attack, and eventually our wolves will be doing lightning damage, as well as all the random bolts that we have coming down from our legendary powers do lightning damage. Therefore, we do an extra 21% lightning damage here, and 12% increased lightning damage to both healthy and injured enemies on top of that, I think. I think that's how that works. Not 100% sure if that's already included in the top number or not, but yes. And then it increases it even more for every 5 dexterity purchases within range, which I purchased all the ones I could find that were in range of that currently until we extend the range of it by leveling up the glyph. Then I went to the right to get Hubris, which this is one of the first defensive, slightly defensive ones I've taken, which is 4% less damage from vulnerable enemies, and hopefully once we get to intelligence, we'll get the other 4%, so it'll be 8% less damage from all enemies that are vulnerable, plus these extra damage reductions around it from vulnerable enemies, just to give us some more survivability. Then I went up to Stormcaller, again, 10% increased storm damage. If dexterity ever gets up, it'll be another 10%, and then just the bonus willpower from that, and then storm skill damage from the adjacent magic nodes. And then we finally, the other night, were able to make it to the next board, which I have not adventured on, but I did rotate it so that we're closer to the glyph slot, and some of these other rare nodes over here, like Nature's Will, which is Nature's magic skill damage. The board that we picked for these, let's see if it tells me the name of the boards here. Crap. Well, I think this board name might have been just Tempest. I can't remember. Oh no, it was Thunderstruck. The board itself, I'm pretty sure, is called Thunderstruck. And it's all about lightning damage. I'll have to look up to see what the board name is. Maybe I'll put it in the comments down below for you guys, or in the description. Same with this one. I want to say this board was the, Constricting Tendrils board. Okay, so they are named after legendary nodes. I picked Constricting Tendrils. It was the only board I could see that fits our build. Basically, because once we get to the legendary node, nature magic skills have a 15% chance to entangle the enemy with vines, immobilizing them for 2 seconds. So again, more crowd control, and it does add poison damage for 120% damage, which I guess is added damage. So that's a plus, and it might allow us to look at other legendary powers that proc off poison damage. But for now, that was the main reason. I couldn't find another one that really honed in on our current build, and I don't think. You can unequip boards and re-equip them. So I could look at other boards in the future and see what other ones are there. If you have a better suggestion for boards, let me know. I don't think we get another board after this. I'm pretty sure we won't have enough Paragon points to add a 4th board. I'm not 100% on that, so I'll let you know in an update video in the future once I get higher level. But yeah, so most of the rare nodes on here just add nature skill damage, damage to crowd-controlled enemies, hence one of the reasons why I picked the board, and damage reduction from crowd-controlled enemies. So that is everything, I believe. We went over the skill tree, we went over the Paragon system, we went over the Spirit Boons, and we went over the legendary items. I won't go into stat priority a whole lot, but for the most part, stat priority for me has been critical strike chance and damage. Those are like the top 2, and right now our critical strike chance is actually 34%, which is pretty high, and damage is currently at 125%. But we also have added critical strike damage with lightning. We do have some overpower. I'm not sure how much overpower is needed. I would like to get the vulnerable damage a little bit higher, but I still think critical strikes and damage are more on the priority scale than that. Attack speed might be there as well. Lightning damage or physical damage will both be kind of high on the priority scale. Overall stats obviously just aren't. But yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up this video. I hope this video helps you out. Hope it gives you another druid build to kind of play off of than some of the cookie cutter ones that are out there. Slightly different than most of those other ones. And I hope you find this helpful. I do plan on making more videos like this in the future, mostly on druids right now, as it is my main class. I do want to make a full companion druid build, and that will be coming out eventually once I get that character leveled up, figure out exactly what legendaries and what Paragon and you know, all the spirit boons, all that stuff, what I'm going with for those, as well as the skill points. But yeah, if you want to see more Diablo 4 gameplay by me, and if you want to see a hardcore run I'm going to be doing, which is a straight up companion druid hardcore run, I don't know how far we'll make, but you can go and check me out. I am now streaming over on Kick. I do have a Twitch stream as well, but for now I'm testing the water on Kick. So you can find me at kick.com/Grimfyre. Graphic will be somewhere here on the screen, guys. I appreciate you coming and watching. If you liked the video, please leave it a like. Please leave a comment down below and do all that for the algorithm. Let me know down below if you have any suggestions, changes. Come check me out on the stream on Kick. We'll be doing some Final Fantasy 16 on the 22nd, hopefully marathoning that game from start to finish before we get back into Diablo 4. I hope to see you guys over there, and thank you for watching the video, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, as I said, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Peace.